compete against?
Well, so there's a traditional definition of competition as like other guys and companies that are trying to do the same thing you are and steal your customers, right? And it's, I think, as you said, it's totally natural. Like, if you look at all of the risks that you face in business, all of the ways that you're likely to fail, it's really hard to actually keep them in perspective, and it's really easy to focus on the ones that have faces associated with them, that are like the people who are saying to people, you know, don't use your product, use something else. And it's almost impossible to put that in the right perspective and say, well, how important is that as a risk factor compared to everything else? Like, how likely am I to fail because of the environment, you know, versus that somebody else actually is going to do what I'm doing better than me and convince users to go away. And the main reason why I'm in consumer facing, you know, internet tech at this point is I want it to be an industry where you could just ignore the competition, just ignore them, because I've never once worked at a company. Evernote's my third startup, but I've been at a few companies before that. I've never once worked at a company where we focused on a competitor. And every previous company, we always had a competitor, right? We always had like our hate list, like our aggro list, like, man, we hate those guys, we're gonna kill those guys, we're gonna kill those guys, we're gonna kill those guys. And never once were the people that were on the top of that hate list the people that mattered in the slightest to the success or failure of the company, you know, 2 or 3 years later. It just never happened. Like, all of the other factors turned out to be much more important. And so this time around, we just said, yeah, we're just gonna ignore it. Not because there aren't a million people that are going to try to take our business away, but just because, like, worrying about it, spending any time worrying about it is time that you're not spending making your own product better. So you may as well make your own product better. So we like actively try to ignore what other people are doing that may be competitive with ours.
Does that change over time? I mean, do people sort of start out saying, like, I'm going to beat those guys, and then get involved in doing a startup and all that hard stuff or whatever, and then does it potentially maybe you come back around where you're sort of successful and you become the person that somebody else goes after? I mean, I'm sure Evernote's probably created competition.
Yeah, a bunch. I mean, there's companies now, like, I get calls like from my accountant. I was like, yeah, I was just at an angel investor pitch session, and there was 2 companies over there. This whole pitch is like, we're going to be like Evernote but better. And like, yeah, that's great. I'm like, that's fantastic. I hope they say that, like, loudly and publicly, and take out, you know, I hope they pay for ads that says, we're just like Evernote but better. And some of them do that. That's very creative. Yeah, so that happens, but it's hard, right? On the one hand, like, you can know enough to sort of laugh at it and say that's probably helping us more than it's hurting us. On the other way, it's so easy to fall back into that competitive mold and go, oh yeah, like, I'll show you guys. And yeah, I have to, like, force myself to actually say, like, that's a distraction. You know, this other stuff that we're doing is far more important.
So